join us in a word of prayer.
All right, go ahead and pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for this chance to gather, to go about the business of the school. We just pray you just give us wisdom and direction as we do this. And we just pray for safety for our staff and our students this summer. Just pray they'd have a enjoyable break and they'd be able to come back rested and ready to go. And we just ask all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Do we have any changes or additions to the agenda? Okay, board, I need a motion on our agenda.
I make a motion to approve agenda as presented.
Second.
Have our motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. We have our minutes from our last meeting. I need a motion on those as well.
Make a motion to approve the minutes as attached.
I second that motion.
We got our motion and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, we're ready for public comments on agenda items. If you have a public comment on an agenda item, please limit your comment to 3 minutes. State your name and address before making your comment, and it must be non-personnel in nature. We've started our live streaming of our meeting, so we have a microphone up there if you'd like to make your comments. So you need to approach the microphone to speak. Do we have any public comments? All right, board comments. Okay, we're ready to open our hearing. The next item on the agenda is for the board to hold a project and preliminary determination hearing on the proposed bond projects. After a presentation by the administration and its advisors, there will be an opportunity for the public to make comments about the projects. At the hearing, we will ask that each person state their name and address and limit their comment to 3 minutes, and that the topic be limited to the proposed projects under consideration. The notice of this preliminary determination hearing was publicly published as legally required. The first preliminary determination hearing was held on February 13th, 2025. At this time, I will ask that Mrs. Brown explain the purpose of the hearing.
Thank you. Pursuant to Indiana Code 2026-7-37, before school corporation may spend more than $1 million to build, repair, or alter school facilities or equipment that will be financed by bonds, hold a public hearing in which explanations the value of the projects to the school corporation and community are given. Similarly, pursuant to Indiana Code 6-1.1.20.1, the school corporation must hold 2 public hearings and adopt a resolution to preliminarily determine to issue bonds for a project which has a total cost in excess of certain thresholds, or if the school corporation has a certain debt service tax rate. Public hearings and consideration of resolutions are the beginning of the legal process. The resolutions presented at this meeting establish the maximum financial for the proposal.
We'll now hear from Mrs. Brown about the process of determining and communicating the projects to the community and the need for the projects.
The first is investing in our schools. In recent years, our school corporation has faced increasing financial constraints due to changes in state funding. One of the most significant legislative mandates has been the requirement that school districts fully cover the cost of curricular materials with limited state reimbursement rather than charging students. While this change ensures that every student has equitable access to their learning resources, it has placed an additional financial burden on our already limited budget. As a result, our school corporation has been forced to allocate a significant portion of operations funds, including transfers from the education fund, towards these expenses, fewer resources available for others. Among these needs is the ability to maintain technology resources that are essential for education. Release payments for student iPads, which support digital learning and equitable access to instructional materials, are a necessary investment in student success. Without additional funding mechanisms, sustaining this investment would require other essential areas. To address these needs and additional pressing facility changes, our school corporation is pursuing a general obligation bond by leveraging a GO bond. We can ensure that our students have access to the resources they need while maintaining the integrity of our school.
We'll now hear from Mrs. Brown about how the proposed projects meet the needs of the district.
The proposed next will include these payments for student and continued access and facility repairs such as replacing aging roofs and addressing other critical decision to pursue this funding is not taken lightly. It's a necessary step to sustain educational excellence in light of state funding limitations. By in these projects now, we ensure that our students continue to receive quality education in a safe, modern, and well-equipped. The GO bond represents a fiscally responsible approach to meeting our district's immediate and long-term. We've received community support as we work to maintain and improve our schools for the benefit of all students.
We will now hear from Camden Parkhurst about how the proposed projects will be financed, as well as information about the effect on the typical property taxpayer.
So we'll finance the devices through a general obligation bond. That bond will follow at maximum the life of the devices. As you know, we'll be going into year 2 of our devices by the time that bond is sold here at the end of the year. So we'll look at these bonds to either fall off in 27 or 28, depending upon where our assessed value comes in and what our tax rate looks like as a part of that. Estimated tax rates will put us somewhere between 2 and 4.5 cents additional tax rate in our debt service.
We'll now open the public hearing. As I mentioned earlier, we ask that you state your name and address, limit your comments to the proposed projects and financing. Keep any comments to 3 minutes and avoid being repetitive if possible. Would anyone like to speak? Thank you all who participated in the hearing. We appreciate your time and interest in the projects and the future of our community. Please note that this is just the first step in the legal process. The board will continue to work with the administration and its professionals to look for efficiencies to conserve tax dollars while meeting our educational needs. Ms. Brown, could you please summarize the project resolution?
Yeah, so let me go back to that document. We're going to be using these funds so that was sort of what we had gone through earlier. That's helping to pay for our lease payments for the iPads, and then also roof repairs and any other additional facility needs.
Okay.
What we will need to do now is adopt the project resolution. So we would need a motion for that.
Okay, could I have a motion and a second to adopt the resolution?
Make a motion to adopt the project resolution.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Mrs. Brown, can you please summarize the preliminary determination resolution?
Sure. So this is, we had our first preliminary determination meeting back in February. This will be the statutorily required second hearing that we'll have. And this will complete those statutory requirements for the bond.
Okay, could I have a motion and a second to adopt the preliminary determination resolution?
I move we adopt the preliminary determination resolution.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Mrs. Brown, could you please summarize the preliminary bond resolution?
Yes, the bond shall be in a principal of amount not to exceed $1.5 million, and interest rates would not exceed 6% annually, and that they would be paid off no later than January of 2034.
Okay, could I have a motion and second to adopt the preliminary bond resolution?
Make a motion to approve the adoption of the preliminary bond resolution.
I second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Mrs. Brown, could you please summarize the reimbursement resolution?
This is just an official intent that we would reimburse ourselves from the proceeds of the bond to pay all of the debts at the completion of the bond.
Do I have a motion and second to adopt the reimbursement resolution?
I make a motion to adopt the reimbursement resolution.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes. Are we ready for a motion to adjourn the hearing and then, okay. Need a motion to adjourn the public hearing to go back to our regular board meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn the preliminary determination hearing.
Second that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes. Okay, we're back to our normal meeting and ready for our superintendent's report.
Okay, well, first of all, I am so grateful to be sitting in this role and excited to join a phenomenal group of people who are doing great things here at Northwestern. In my update, some of the things that I have that are a priority are to prioritize what our mission is, and that is the Northwestern way. So we're supporting students by having high expectations for them, giving them opportunities to explore and decide who they want to become past beyond the walls of school, and do that with excellence. So I've been on the job for about 7 days in office. So it's been kind of a whirlwind week. But I did want to share a little bit about my entry plan and early priorities that I have. So this past week, I sent an introductory email to staff, just letting them know who I am, what my background is, and what I'm excited to accomplish this coming school year. Today, I met with our Education Service Center staff just to connect, establish norms, and talk about how we're going to work together this school year. Starting next week, most of our schools will have their office staff back in place, so I will be conducting one-on-one meetings with all of our principals and really just trying to talk about what are the priorities that they're carrying into their schools this coming school year. Before school starts, I will be sending out an email and introductory video to parents just to give them a little bit of an introduction to who I am. And really, my job is not going to come in and make any major changes. We're doing great things here, and so we want to sustain those great things. And then mid-August to early September, once school has gotten on a roll, I'm going to be meeting with grade level and department teams at all the buildings to hear in a small group setting, meet everyone face to face and get to hear what they're, what's going really well, maybe what are some pain points and opportunities in each building, and really just getting to enmesh myself with the culture here at Northwestern. So I'm very excited about that. Thankful for the staff that I am already working with at the Education Service Center and administrative team. They've been phenomenal and really appreciate that. In terms of preparing for day one, if you've taken a walk around the building, we still have quite a bit of work that's ongoing. Mr. Layden can give you a little bit of an update on that. But as far as staffing is concerned, we have almost all of our key positions filled. We'll be conducting interviews for an athletic director coming up later this week. And I think right now we only have one certified teacher that we need to fill because of a late resignation that happened last week. So we're in a really good spot for that. We have new teacher onboarding and orientations going on throughout this week and next. And then want to extend an invitation to the board for our organizational day, which is Monday, August 4th. We will have breakfast at 7 a.m. in the cafeteria. And then following that will be our annual organizational meeting at 8 in the auditorium. So really excited to jump in and have a great school year doing great things for kids. The next item in the superintendent's report is our monthly wind turbine production report. Mr. Layden? Are there any questions? No.
I mean,
And that is all I have. It's kind of a slow summer in terms of academics, but it's been a steep learning curve for me. So I'm excited to be on board and work with everyone.
we'll go ahead and move to our AP claims.
Okay. Accounts payable claims. Camden, he submitted claims vouchers for a total of $2,953,735.31 from June 13th through July 14th that we would ask for your approval.
I need a motion for our AP claims that were presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the AP claims as presented.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Ready for our payroll claims.
Okay. Our payroll claims submitted for the month of June 13th through July 14th total $995,875.54 that we would ask for your approval.
Need a motion for our payroll claims.
Make a motion to approve the payroll claims as presented.
Second that.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Ready for CFO reports.
Okay, Camden does a really nice job of submitting appropriation reports and cash flow reports so that you can see where we are in terms of budget. Right now, we are just past the exact halfway point in the budgeting year, and so in our education fund, we have spent 46.5% of the funds that have been appropriated, and in our operations fund, 37.65% of the funds that have been appropriated. So we are doing really well in terms of achieving our budget goals, and would ask for your approval. I guess I don't know if it needs approval necessarily.
Yeah, let's do a motion to accept the CFO report.
I'll make a motion to approve CFO reports as submitted.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. Now we have our Howard ECA 2024-2025 report.
Okay, so for Howard Elementary, this is a summary of all of their fund balances for extracurricular activities, and they ended their school year with a balance of $12,677.05, and would ask that you would approve that report as submitted.
Need a motion on the presented report.
Make a motion to approve the Howard ECA end of year reports for this past school year.
I second.
Got our motion second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes, and now we will hear about NES.
Okay, Northwestern Elementary also submitted their ECA fund balance report, and their year ended with a balance of $41,361.16 in their ECA fund. Ask for your approval as submitted.
I need a motion on the report that was presented.
I'll make a motion to approve the Northwestern Elementary ECA end of year reports.
I'll second.
Got a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Okay.
Aye.
Motion passes.
And just a point of note, the ECA treasurers for NES and HES, this was they did a great job. This was the first time they had to submit their balances, and so that's why they got theirs done early. When the other buildings get back in session and they're here, you'll have their reports next month.
Okay. Ready for personnel, and we'll do those as a consent item.
So we have several changes as schools do in the summertime. So I guess the first item on the list is a request to allow me the authority to appoint teachers or to hire teachers prior to the next school board meeting. So that will be part of the consent request. We also have new certified staff that we are recommending this month. Kathy Simmons is returning, at least the Simmons family is returning to us with Kathy as a music teacher at Howard Elementary. Catherine McFarland as a second grade teacher to Howard Elementary. Jennifer Grigorski as a third grade teacher at Howard Elementary. Ashley Smith is currently an instructional assistant for us, and she is going to take on a second grade position at Northwestern Elementary starting in the fall. And then Megan Pearson will be a Howard Elementary preschool and PE teacher on our certified list of recommendations. We do have a resignation from Diane Taylor, a second grade teacher at Howard. That was effective the end of the 24-25 school year. Mr. Mike Horstman has resigned currently as our athletic director. He is working with us through the end of July to make sure we have a smooth transition. And then Hannah Hansen, a kindergarten teacher at Howard, has resigned. Support staff, Claire Wallace is resigning as a Howard Elementary special education instructional assistant. However, she is going to be, you'll see later on, she'll be joining the high school as a computer teacher. So she is not leaving the district. We have a request for transfer of assignment from Julia Malson. So Julia is currently the student services secretary, and she has her master's degree and is very skilled in terms of the work that she does in that department. So she is going to be expanding her role as a non-certified helper. So we're calling her a student support assistant, and that is in lieu of hiring a new counselor at this time. We do have a couple of requests for years of experience adjustment. So you'll see Chris Lovelace and Christina Kidwell. Mr. Schoaf is requesting that their years of experience be adjusted, and that is to be consistent with our hiring practices from some other non-certified staff where years of service had been counted. So we want to make that right for those two individuals, and that is as presented in your packet. And then in April, we hired a new teacher to start in the fall, Sarah Cleary, and inadvertently she was hired in at lane G on the pay scale salary. And in fact, she only has, instead of 5 years, 4 years of experience. And so we need to make sure that that's adjusted appropriately for down the road. We've had that conversation with her, and she understands what that means in terms of changes, and she was very gracious about that. And then lastly, we have the long-term substitute recommendations. So Claire Wallace moving from Howard to a long-term sub as a computer science teacher. Just a little background on her. She is in the process of getting her license, and so we are hopeful that that will be in place so that we can hire her permanently as a teacher, a certified teacher. And then Brandy Lapota will be we're recommending her take a long-term sub position for maternity leave. And then we also have a significant list of ECA assignments that have been presented in your packet. These are routine, previously negotiated extracurricular assignments. And so I would ask that all of those recommendations be approved as submitted.
All right, need a motion for the personnel items that were presented.
I'll make a motion to approve a consent list of personnel recommendations as presented.
A second.
Any comments or questions?
With Julia, are they going to replace that front
Yes,
person?
it is posted.
Okay.
So there will be someone as a secretary there. Good question.
Any others? All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Move on to Neola policy updates.
Okay, this is the second reading. So all of these policies were heard last month at the June meeting. And so we have 7 policy revisions and then 1 new proposed policy. The first is policy 5111, and that is a revision of the policy on legal settlement and eligibility for enrollment. It again prohibits school corporations from charging tuition for transfer students. We have policy 5500 on student conduct, and this is a revision to that policy to include the provisions of artificial intelligence, which is another policy I'll be talking about here in just a moment. We have policy 5610 on the suspension and expulsion of students, and this cross-references to multiple board policy and corrects the legal citations and punctuation, so it's primarily a technical revision. We have policy 6250, which adjusts the ADM count date from the state. And then we have policy 7450.03. This is again on student technology acceptable use, and it is revised to include the provisions addressing AI. We have similar policy mirrored for staff technology acceptable use. This is policy 7540.04, also including the provisions for AI for staff use. And then we have a policy 7540.09 on artificial intelligence again. And this, we know this policy will be evolving as technology is changing rapidly, but it addresses what the approved uses are of AI by the district. And those include research assistance, data analysis, language translation, writing assistance, and for accessibility purposes. The last one in the revision category is for emergency preparedness drills, and basically prohibits school corporations from requiring students to participate when it prohibits students from participating at all in any training that includes the use of projectiles, which we do not do anyways, but we are adjusting that so that they match the legal language. And I would ask that you would approve those new policies as presented.
All right, we need a motion to adopt the Neola policies that were presented on second reading.
Make a motion to adopt the second reading Neola policy updates as presented.
Second.
Have any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Now we're ready for athletic handbooks.
Okay, well, I'm gonna turn it over to some of our administrators at some point in time. Tim, did you want to talk about athletics, or I can? It doesn't matter. Okay. Mr. Horstman did submit, we have several proposals for handbook updates for the coming school year. As far as the athletic handbook is concerned, there were 3 substantive changes proposed from last year. The first change is on page 4 in the handbook, and that includes the new language for IHSAA eligibility and first-time transfers between students between member schools. So that language mirrors what the new IHSAA bylaws say. And then on page 11, we have updated language on dual sport participation. So that clarifies the language on student athletes who wish to participate in 2 school-sponsored sports, and sort of clarifies what sports take precedent over the other one depending on the time of year. And then we also have an addition on page 11 as well for middle school participation in travel and club sports. And that clarifies that language and allows them to prioritize both of those things. So I would ask that you would review those, and if you have any questions, we are happy to entertain that. Then I will ask Mrs. Berkshire, are you going over the handbook changes for the high school? Okay. As far as the handbook changes are concerned, that was presented to you as far as what the changes are from last year to this year. For the middle school, Mr. Ward is here if you have any questions. There were really no substantive changes. The only real updates that we had were to include in our attendance policies what the new laws indicate on attendance and when we are required to notify parents, have meetings with parents, and notify outside agencies as far as the juvenile justice system or the Department of Child Services. Same for the NES handbook as well as the HES handbook. Does anyone have any questions?
I think so. All right, we'll need a motion to approve the handbook updates as presented.
I make a motion to approve the handbooks, their updates as presented.
A second.
Any discussion?
I would just say the athletic handbook, the change on page 11, which dealt with middle school sports and club sports. And we've been back and forth on that many times, and I dealt with it as an AD. But I would say that the one little thing in there that I don't like is that the pressure is placed on the coach to make a decision if they're coming out of the club, come to them and they miss a practice or whatever, then it's put on them. So that's the only thing that I would say. It's not a bad policy. It's a change from where we've been.
Okay. Any others? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Do the stipend for superintendent continued support.
Okay. You see a recommendation in your packet. So this is for Mrs. Bilkey. It is recommended that the board would approve the following retirement compensation package for Mrs. Bilkey in recognition for her dedicated years of service to the district and her commitment in supporting a smooth leadership transition, which I very much appreciate. As she concludes her tenure with the district, she has agreed to provide consultation and support assistance in making sure that operations remain stable. And so I would ask that you would entertain the approval for paying out her accumulated sick, vacation, and personal days, which total an amount of $15,281.69. And this provides for the statutory payout of earned vacation and personal leave and reflects how much we appreciate Mrs. Bilkey and her availability to help us in this transition period.
I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the stipend for the continued support for the superintendent as presented.
I second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. SEEC contract.
Okay, so the special education excess cost grant that we receive, this is a grant that helps provide excessive costs when we have special needs students who might require additional financial support. The Department of Education requires that when we receive that grant, each school corporation needs a designated person authorized to sign for all agreements that deal with students who are placed in residential or private care. And so this would be a resolution changing that authorized signer from Mrs. Bilkey to myself.
I need a motion on the proposed SEEC contract.
Make a motion to sign agreements for alternative and private residential school placements at the designees for the board as presented.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Motion passes. Service agreement.
Okay, this is a routine agreement that Northwestern engages with community network for training services. We do not know who that individual will be at this time, but we are agreeing with them that they will provide that individual to us, and that would be at a cost for us of the $63,500 salary plus benefits, the benefits would then total about $83,000.
Explain the benefits.
That would be in terms of so basically we would be subsidizing the insurance plan that they would take through community, not through our district. So we help subsidize that plan, and that's what community requires for us in order to take their services.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the agreement between Northwestern School Corporation and Community Health.
I'll second.
Any other discussion?
Do we know where that money's coming from, since we've never paid a trainer?
It would come out of operations since they are not a certified staff member.
Any others? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We're now moving to the KSEC agreement.
Okay, this is another routine agreement that all of the Kokomo area special education cooperative schools partake in. There are no substantive changes from this year, from last year to this year, and this just maintains our buy into that cooperative group for our special education servicing.
Okay, need a motion on the KSEC agreement.
Make a motion to approve the KSEC agreement as presented.
I second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Hours change jumpstart.
Okay. This is from Mr. Bisher at the middle school. Previously, it was recommended that middle school jumpstart hours be from 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. That conflicted with some of the transportation times needed for NES and HES, and so we are asking that those times align with both the elementary and HES so that transportation can run smoothly.
You need a motion for the time change for jumpstart.
Make a motion that we approve the time change for Jumpstart as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Surplus property.
Okay, this is a request from Mr. Miller. So after taking an accounting of some of the surplus equipment that we have in our stockpile, we have a lot of obsolete materials that we are asking the board permission to recycle or sell off. And that list is presented in your packet.
Okay, need a motion for the surplus equipment.
Make a motion to approve the surplus of personal property items as presented.
I second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. School meal prices for the 25-26 school year.
Mr. Layden, you want to talk about that? All right.
So something we do every summer. Basically what we're asking is just do a price increase. We're asking for the minimum required price increase. So this is basically what the USDA is requiring us to increase our prices for our students. So pretty much 10 cents across the board. So breakfasts will go from $1.90 to $2. Elementary lunch from $2.90 to $3, and then high school lunch from $3.15 to $3.25.
I know that's been around for a while. Is that essentially, does that ever expire that we have to do a minimum increase, or
It's pretty standard. I know the last few years it's been 10 cents. I think in the past it may have been 8 cents or something like that. But every year we have to do that paid lunch equity tool to determine what our price increases are going to be. So we're just once again asking to approve the minimum.
okay? Thank you. Need a motion on the school meal prices for next school year.
I'll make a motion to approve school meal prices for the 25-26 school year as presented.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. We're now ready for the Ivy Tech MOU.
Okay. In that agenda item, you'll see 3 MOU requests, all from Ivy Tech. One is for the criminal justice pathway coursework. One is for early childhood pathway coursework, and another is for the pre-health services, pre-health care services pathway. And these are annual memorandums of understanding with Ivy Tech. They are not evergreen, so it is for the 25-26 school year, and it outlines what the costs are for tuition for students and what the university would provide to us as a school corporation.
You need a motion on the presented MOU with Ivy Tech.
Make a motion to approve the MOU with Ivy Tech as presented.
Second that.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Outside therapy agreement.
Okay, so back in April, you all approved an agreement with a specific company for ABA services. That stands for Applied Behavioral Analysis Services. Oftentimes, our students with autism on the autistic spectrum benefit from having these services, and at times, through parent request or necessity, those children would benefit from having a behavioral certified technician with them in the classroom. And so that was approved for that specific company. We have another company for a student who would like to be in the classroom this fall. And so we spoke with our attorneys, and Gina and I met and discussed it would be a good idea for our corporation to have a broad memorandum of understanding template that we could use for any of those companies that would approach us requesting services for children in our district. And the purpose of this is to basically indemnify the school corporation of any liability. It would be an understanding that the school corporation would not pay for any of those services, that it would be privately paid for through by the families, and just delineates the limitations of what their services can be in our school district. Alongside that, you'll see a template for parents. If they request that their child have those services from a specific company, this also outlines basically what the limitations are, that the provider would have to abide by our school rules, that the provider would have a full criminal background check, and that there would be times where we would check up and make sure that that relationship was beneficial for both the school and the child, and just outlines those limitations so that the school corporation does not have any liability in that partnership. And so we would ask that you would approve those templates so that we can start using those for specific cases as they come along.
Okay, we need a motion for the therapy agreement.
Make a motion to approve the templates for the agreement as presented.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. At this time, we're ready for public comments of non-agenda items. As the rules I said before, it has to be limited to 3 minutes and must be non-personnel in nature. Are there any non-public comment or non-agenda item comments? Board comments? Okay, we need a motion to adjourn to executive session.
I make that motion to adjourn
Second.
into executive session.
Got our
Second.
motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.